Here I've got 4 different Matco ratchets to show you. Matco is the company that makes these. For my nice tools, I like Matco and Snap-on. You're not really going to be able to find Craftsman and Harbor Freight and all these other places make as many specialty tools as some of the expensive companies. And if you're going to buy specialty tools, or expensive tools rather, you might as well make them specialty. Because you're not just going to find this right here, this indexing 3/8 drive ratchet at most stores. Of course, they are coming out with a lot more gimmicky type ratchets. Like I bought one from Harbor Freight that has a pull-out extendable handle, and at first I thought that was goofy. Like it's got an extendable cheater bar on it. And also it had a 3/8 on one side and a 1/4 on the other. I was like, whatever, it's cheap enough, I'll buy it. Tell you what, I actually do use it quite a bit. Sometimes I keep the 1/4 drive socket on one side at all times, and then the other socket that I use at all times. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but nobody sells this at any of those cheap stores. And sometimes this comes in handy whenever you're trying to get to something. Then it causes you a lot less stress sometimes whenever you don't have to fight stuff and you have the right tools. And I just like tools anyway. I'm addicted to tools. Tools hold their value, especially quality name brand tools. It's better than holding on to paper bills, in my opinion. So nothing really too special about it other than the head swivels and swabbles. So let's just look at both of these together. This one is a 3/8 drive, and like I said, the 3/8 is just the size of the head, the size of the socket that you're going to put on it, the size of the anvil. If you have another name for this thing right here, go ahead and tell me in the comments. And this is actually a 1/4 drive ratchet body with a 3/8 drive ratchet head. It's the size of a 1/4 drive ratchet. This is the size of a 3/8 drive ratchet, only it's stubby. So you can tell that this is a lot smaller. The handle's smaller, thinner, everything's smaller about it. This is the size it should be, only the handle is a lot smaller. I like to use stuff like this whenever I don't want to over torque things. Of course, I know the feeling on what it's supposed to feel like, but sometimes I just like to make sure that I'm not going to overdo it and strip things out. And it's nice to grab something like this whenever I'm tightening stuff down. The same can apply for this, but and I don't really use these very often. I don't use this one very often either. But it is nice to have if I am in some kind of situation where a 1/4 drive ratchet just isn't going to cut it, and I need this slim, I might have limited clearance. There's a lot of situations on specialty vehicles, like German type vehicles, where you got to get in there with the fancy tool to make your life easier. And then this one right here is a palm ratchet. I probably use this the least, but this would be really detailed tightening things to make sure that you don't strip it out or torque it. And of course, some people would say you always have to use a torque wrench on everything. Well, I barely ever do. I don't have problems with torquing stuff. I've learned how to torque things. And one of the things I implement is like this, just using a 1/4 drive ratchet to torque stuff, because I know I can't overdo it. I know the feeling as well, but for instance, sometimes you need to be directly over the thing that you're tightening, because if you have a little lever arm, you're putting a different type of force on it. You're putting a different type of twist on it. But like, for instance, if something is spring-loaded and you need to push it down and tighten it at the same time, you can apply the load directly over the screw. And one example for that is a motorcycle shock. You've got a cap on the top of a motorcycle shock, and a lot of times those threads are aluminum. And you gotta apply the force directly down to push that spring down, and then you have to screw it on. If you're trying to do that with some kind of handle, you basically have to grab the ratchet like this and use it in a similar fashion. You have to put it directly overhead. So you can still do it with a regular ratchet, but sometimes it feels more ergonomical in your hand to be able to hold it like this and crank it down. So they're nice, little unique tools, and for me, I'd rather have stuff like this than jewelry or any other useless type things to hold my value with. I would rather just collect tools because I like them. I just like to look at them. Sometimes I play with them. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, Naptown Tuner.